And welcome everybody. This is Chaos, back with you with White Raw versus MMA. The series has been tied up 1-1, and I thought White Raw had the game sealed, but MMA, through insane control, being extremely patient and some great drop play, was able to pull back into the game. And wow, what a setup for a great game 3. White Raw seems to be taking us to these games 3, make it exciting. So I don't know if we're going to see a tiebreaker game at a White Raw every game tonight, but MMA obviously showed that he was no joke. He was in an engagement against a lot of Colossus and was able to pull back into it through just great control and just having the perfect engagement there. And it looks like MMA might be going for just a command center straight away, so he's doing like a extremely fast expand here. This is not a map that you see a lot. I believe it's called Daybreak. Not a common one on the pool, but yeah, MMA deciding to go for a command center first. So I don't know if White Rod responds to just a 4-gate or what he chooses to do here. And obviously Barrick's going to follow. It looks like that MMA would have to get a bunker here, if, or even two just to hold here, if White Raw does any pressure. So I'm curious to see how White Raw is going to look at this. I don't know if he's going to expand or what's he going to choose here. And White Raw responding just with an expansion of himself. And it's going to be obviously quite a bit later than MMA's, but he is further along the tech tree because he already has his gateway down. He needs to be able to throw his cybernetics core down right now. And this is going to be interesting because obviously MMA is going to have the economic advantage for a little bit, but White Raw is going to have a chance to get a little bit further up the tech tree. So I don't know if you see him do some really quick DTs or some quick robo play, perhaps. He has so much options, and MMA is going to be a little bit more limited on just really Marines and Marauder tech, really. But the Cybernetics just finishing, and first unit coming out, it's going to be a Stalker, and shut down really any scouting potential MMA has for a little bit, unless he wants to waste scans. And just another barracks going down for MMA, so he's going to be up to 3 barracks at this point. So he's going to have a lot of bio units. He hasn't even thrown down a bunker yet, so he's not feeling too much pressure. And looks like we're going to be going up to 3 gates now. Warp gate is on the way. There's just so many potential builds still ready for White Raw. What's to do here? That SCV is hiding, considering obviously a pop in, try to get a scout on any of the tech path that's going on. And White Rod just going for map control, try to take this tower. Stalkers, of course, can micro against Marines all day until Stim's finished, or a Marauder enters the fray with some like concussive shells. And it's just going to be really tough for MMA to get any map control in the short term. And there's a lot of open space there, so War Prism pit play could be quite strong, could do a lot of drops. And the bunker is finally going down, realizing that there could be a little bit of pressure if Right Raw decided to go with like a 2-base all-in right now. You'd have a ton of gateway units. And White Raw going for a quick third, which is pretty smart. MMA might have a sense of what's going on though with that SCV, seeing that pylon preemptively. He might throw a scan down there just to clarify that. And quick Ghost Academy here, so and 2 more barracks, so just gonna be a giant bio army. There's going to be no medevac support though, so he's gonna rely a lot on these EMPs or maybe cloaks. This could be pretty strong because there's not even a factory on the map here. So Stim on the way, Concussive on the way as well. But the interesting thing here is just with that quick Ghost Academy, these ghosts are really going to catch White Raw off guard. If he can do anything with it, it's going to be the question though. Because if he can't do any damage, he still has to waste time to make a factory. Once that's done, throw down a starport, and then really finally get in the medevac production. And White Raw going up to 6 gates with charge on the way. And gonna have a forge behind it, so he's gonna start some upgrades as well. And Robo finally going down for White Raw. So it's gonna be a big gateway army, but there is a push out for MMA. I'm not sure if he's just going to take map control or if he's actually going to try to poke in on White Raw. Army sizes are pretty similar, but obviously MMA has a ghost or 2 in the mix at this point. Maybe not. I know 2 ghosts are just finished popping out, so you might wait to pull them in here. He's not choosing to go with Cloak, but that's not necessarily a big deal because ghosts actually do a ton of damage against light units. And just having them in your mix can make a big difference. So he's deciding just to hold the tower, and it looks like Templar Archives just going down right now as well. So we're gonna see storms at some point. And the Zealots move out, and the EMPs were kind of ineffective. He only hit about half of them there, and finally getting the rest of the Zealots. And the White Raw Zealots are being so effective here. He's actually picking off almost all the units. And I think he got all the ghosts as well, which are really the expensive units. And wow, this got cleaned up. Without any medevac support, that bio army fell so fast. And he couldn't afford to overstim there. And now MMA is building a 3rd command center finally, but look at all those gateways from White Raw. I believe he's up to 8 gateways at this point. And our favorite unit, the Warp Prism, is about to hit the map, so we're going to start seeing some harassment go on. And we're getting double upgrades at this point for White Raw as well, so he's really gearing up for a an awesome end game here. And I think all this has happened within the first 12 minutes of this match is incredible. And looks like White Raw is going to go in and try to deny this 3rd base from going up, but at the same time might go to harass as well. He's just going to pick the SCVs, and he actually gets it before it's done. And great force fields. And White Raw once again picking off huge units. And it looks like MMA might destroy all of White Raw's units here, but White Raw took so many units there, got the cancel on the 3rd, and MMA forced to create this command center again. It was just such a huge setback, and this Warp Prism's coming in the back, and is just going to really catch MMA off guard here. Oh my god, it's pulling over. He drops those Zealots right away. And MMA having to pull all his workers off the line here. Even if he doesn't do huge damage, just having to pull all those SCVs off is so annoying. And it looks like he's preparing for another drop. Just so persistent. And Colossus are finally coming on the field, as well as some Archon. And we have range coming behind it, as well as a ton of upgrades on the attack and shields. And there's still no medevac support, so this is going to be so strong. And these Zealots keep dropping in. And now they're actually starting to clean up a decent amount. And MMA is forced just to keep these Marines tied to the back. He might choose to drop the natural in a minute here. And without medevac support, MMA's units are going to be pretty weak. There comes a counter drop here. Hopefully White Rock can deal with this, though, because this is kind of what cost him the previous game. He does get the good warp in here, and he should be able to shut it down. And just the cannons go down, so just enough defense just to hold this off with minimal damage. And MMA is deciding to pop back in again. Might be just trying to pick off this pick off a couple of drones here, and maybe even try to take out the quiet Twilight Council. And this looks like it should be cleaned up, but he has nothing that can shoot up, so he won't be able to deny this. And it looks like White Raw, using that Warp Prism again, might go to harass the third or the natural. And I think we're ready for another drop here any minute. Okay, so looks like it's going to be at the third, but it looks like some turrets are finally going down, so this might shut this harassment. Oh, he's hitting a pretty good timing push, and there's nothing ready to stop this. Oh, and lost the Warp Prism, so all those units got cancelled. But he's still inflicting some more damage here, and White Raw is starting to pull ahead a little bit. So he's kind of at that kind of mid-game with that Zealot Archon mix, a little bit of a Colossus behind it. But he's been on 3 bases for quite a while, so he's definitely a little bit ahead. Look, I think we're up to almost 10 warp gates at this point. And his units, I believe, are pretty upgraded as well. MMA finally has a few Vikings on the map, but still no medevac backbone, so he's got to be super careful where he decides to make these engagements. Just have a few ghosts, which are definitely crucial for dealing with this heavy Zealot-based army. If you can't get those key EMPs off on the Zealots, they're just so hard to deal with. But look at all those Archons, so he's got to definitely get the EMPs on them as well, because they literally die within seconds once an EMP hits them. They have very low health. And he's just going to take advantage of this natural to third kind of decision. Poking back and forth, and it looks like we're going to have another drop because he knows the army is kind of pulled to the front. And White Raw might be even gearing up for another base. He goes in for another drop here, and this is going to be pretty strong. And MMA is pulling out, but the third is being pushed at the same time, so MMA not being able to react too much here. And White Raw decides not to engage there. And we have a definitely have an engagement here. Great EMPs go off, and White Raw might get cleaned up here. He's got to be very careful. These Colossus are putting in work, but it looks like MMA should clean up, because those EMPs were disastrous. White Raw's got to get some units up quick, though, because he lost all his Colossus in that engagement, and just having so many Archons when you know the Ghosts are out seemed like a bit of a mistake. But he is up about 30 plus workers at this point, and does have his fourth established, another Robo on the way, and +2 upgrades for weapons and armor just about to finish, so he's going to have a lot of power in his ground army. And I don't know if MMA is considering a counter drop, and sure enough it looks like he might. Can White Raw scout this though? Because this could be pretty critical. It kind of happened last game as well, where he was caught out of position and he lost a ton of his production facility. MMA is trying to make the drop here. A lot of cannons on the back, and he's starting to warp in right away. Oh my god, and a medevac gets feedbacked out, and one's already been shut down, and that's pretty huge for a White Raw. MMA needs every unit he can get and can't afford to have these die without any trade. And White Raw's trying to take a 5th base as well, which is pretty crazy. And this drop got cleaned up with everything in the medevac. And the 5th did get denied by MMA, but he lost his whole drop there. And White Raw's going to be in a position here to expand freely. And MMA almost has his 4th secured with a planetary fortress warping in. And another warp prism drops, but looks like White Raw drops. Another drop going off here. MMA's trying to get out of here. And it looks like a difference in this game is just White Raw having better positioning of his cannons, just being able to shoot down most of these key medevacs out of MMA. It looks like White Raw is starting to transition into a little bit more Templar in these forces and start to actually research the shields. He's got, look at the how many zealots he has there. It's just a huge army. He's got to ensure that he doesn't engage in any tight chokes. You want those zealots to get good surrounds around that bio, especially with only 2 medevacs there. This should be pretty ideal for White Raw. And MMA deciding to move his army back up, just kind of watch his 4th. That's kind of the key point where you can be in a lot of trouble. And we have a giant death ball here for White Raw. He's actually maxed out at 200 food. So we're going to see a push out any time here. And he's up about 40 food here. Or sorry, maybe it's just 20 actually. No, it is 160. My apologies. Resolution's a little bit bad there. This is a point where White Raw really wants to start trading down armies and not let the Terran player get maxed himself. Counter drop is going down at a natural there. Hopefully he doesn't lose that Templar Archives. And it looks like MMA is pushing in behind it, so he's definitely exploiting the immobility of White Raw's army here. White Raw is having to split his army up a touch to deal with this. And he's able to pick off and kind of clean up the forces. Took some damage, but it looks like MMA is starting to get closer to being maxed, and looks like the engagement's about to happen here. And MMA doesn't want to engage here. This is definitely not a key area. Vikings are starting to snipe some of the Colossus going down, and losing some Vikings there. This is such a battle where they're just trying to ensure the best engagement. Good EMPs go down. Everything's kind of fried in half, but White Raw summons a whole bunch more zealots up the side. It's hard to say who's going to come out of here ahead. It looks like MMA might be in good shape, but he doesn't have many medevacs, so his army is pretty weak. He's trying to use his planetary fortress to help leverage his attack, but there's just so many zealots left, and he really can't stim anymore. And it looks like he might be able to hold, and it looks like White Raw might just get out just with a handful of zealots and an Archon, and he's going to have to rebuild here. White Raw thankfully having a ton of money in the bank, able to quickly start getting more units. But MMA up at 140 though, 120 food here for White Raw. So definitely got the better of that engagement. And it looks like a drop is about to head here. And there could be a pretty good timing window here where MMA could do some serious damage. It looks like he's pushing out, and he might be doing like a two-pronged attack here. He's going to get at that 5th and hit the main. So White Raw is going to have to choose what they engage. There's not a lot of pylons up. And sure enough, buildings are starting to be underpowered, and he might lose that 5th base here. And MMA doing such a great job harassing here. It looks like he's going to shut down this mining base. And I'm not sure who's going to come out ahead here. It's just so close. It looks like he's definitely going to lose that 5th expansion at the south. but the Zealots are cleaning up MMA's additional base he took. The Vikings are landing just to get into the fray here, but the Stalkers are moving in, and the Vikings are going to lose. Oh, he's going to lose the Medivacs too, which are kind of a blunder. He really needs those to help keep that bio relevant. And the sixth base is under attack, so he might lose that base as well. And really, MMA is really starting to peel White Raw apart here. White Raw, though, is ahead at 20 food now, so it's... where does a White Raw transition from here? It looks like he's going to start Colossus production. There's a lot of Archon's production still going on, which is a little bit questionable considering all the ghosts on the field. The EMPs really shut down that Archon play, so I'm surprised White Raw is committing so much to it. And that Marauders are being pretty effective with the harassment. And White Raw is starting to shut this down, but MMA is being just so annoying here. And White Raw is just really exploiting MMA both at both bases there pretty effectively. And White Raw is almost up about 30 food here, but it's hard to say that he's actually ahead, because one ghost can really neutralize any of these Archons right away. But they're a little bit out of position there, and the Archons are starting to get EMP. Oh, feedbacks go off. And wow, the Colossus move in at the right time, and a lot of those Medivacs' energy were feedbacked right away. And a lot of SCVs go down there. And it looks like White Raw has swung this game really back in his favor. MMA is going to be pretty broke from right now, because all he really has is his fourth mining. These other bases have been harassed so much, and he's down to only 14 SCVs. So his economy is terrible right now. And it looks like White Raw should be able to pull together. Look at all of those Archons. I don't care how many EMPs you have, it's going to be hard to stop that. And the mix for White Raw is pretty insane. He has High Templar, Colossus, Archon, Zealot, Stalker. I think even a few Immortals in there for a good measure. He just has so much. And that one Archon is just handling business at that on North Expansion for White Raw. And here is the engagement. So many get hit, but it looks like White Raw takes this series